question is, and I think this, I don't want to belittle it because I think it's one of the most important questions, I think, that can affect the area. Is this mega quarry, if it goes through, that's 600 million liters of water per day. My name's David Waters and I live up in Shelburne. And, it would greatly affect, the quality of Shelburne and all the river systems downstream, which is, amount of water of 2.7 million liters, 2.7 million people it would affect. So my question is, there's all of you are up here, but I think the big question is, where does your party, and I'm going to direct this to you, Ms. Jones, is where does Tim Hudak stand on this mega quarry? Will he honor the environmental assessment that the Liberals have asked for? I want a clear answer whether Tim Hudak, and each one of you of your party as well, supports the fight against this mega quarry, and I want to hear a yes or a no.
In fact, David, on that CBC interview, you have more tape of Tim Hudak speaking about the Melanchthon Quarry than you have nothing, with Dalton McGuinty. Because I heard Mr. McGuinty talk to the CBC, 3 questions he was asked, specifically related to the quarry. The first time he talked about the green belt, and he talked about basically anything but the quarry. The reporter, to their credit, called him out on it and said, no, that's not what I asked. I wanted to know about the Melanchthon Quarry. When my leader, Tim Hudak, was asked, he made reference to the fact that he believes the company should go back to the drawing board. He made reference to the fact that if this quarry was to go ahead, you could see it from outer space. And he made mention of the fact of what I've been doing, working with NDAC, working with Melanchthon Council to first get an extension of the public consultation period, then to support the environmental assessment. If you're asking for who has been speaking up on it, I've been there. I've been speaking on behalf of the families in Dufferin Caledon, and if you give me the honor of allowing me to be a representative post-October 6th, I will continue to do that, because I feel strongly that my role is to represent you.
So is that... Is that a yes or a no on Tim Hudak, on your party? Yeah, I just want a yes or a no.
I'll send you the transcript.
So is it a yes? Will he honor the environmental assessment? Will he honor the environmental assessment if
I believe that he will honor the environmental assessment.
Okay. Thank you.
I was listening to that program and I heard Mr. McGuinty speak, and I also heard Mr. Hudak's comments. Mr. McGuinty talked about the leadership involved right now in those processes. We have leaders within government who have stepped up to the plate. There are a number of people, including Premier McGuinty, because I've spoken to him. I've spoken to Wilkinson, I've spoken to Linda Jeffries, I've spoken to staff. I've talked to everyone imaginable. Okay, I can't demonstrate how committed I am to this issue unless I come up and pitch a tent on one of those farms, and that's the absolute truth. What Mr. Hudak has done is left the window open to say that that Highland should go back and rework their plan. And rework their plan means, let's make it a little bit smaller so it's a little bit less damaging. So then they can get their application planned and approved, and then they can do their mega quarry after. That's exactly what is the biggest concern for this community. Ms. Jones has flip-flopped all over the place on this issue, and she was late to the game joining the call for an environmental assessment. It was only since we've been full mode into an election that she's actually verbalized the fact that she's going to support an environmental assessment. What you need to remember is when she was handed that petition for an environmental assessment, she stood up and defended the Aggregate Resources Act and said it is there to protect communities. So I don't have any faith that a Conservative member for this riding is going to be the right member to ride us through what's going to be probably a very long process through an environmental assessment, and then a real commitment to review the Aggregate Resources Act so that we can protect our communities once and for all. We do have a lot of aggregate here in Ontario, especially in Dufferin, Caledon. This is a problem that's not going to go away. We need aggregate to build infrastructure, to build roads and cities, but we need to find a way to work with the industry and make sure that we are protecting water and protecting agriculture. And right now, the ARA is not doing that. We have a very strong public voice. I commend the people who've been working so hard on this issue for such a long time. Now is the time for a strong political voice so that we see those commitments through and we protect Dufferin Caledon from the mega quarry once and for all. Thank you.
I'm sure you two would like to speak. Karen, why don't you?
I think it's noteworthy that the Green Party was the first party to release its platform last spring. Because our platform doesn't change as you get closer to an election, because it's based on principles, common sense, and it's not affected by the influence of industry. It includes farmland, protecting farmland. That's one of our 5 key issues, food and agriculture. And that's critical to this, because frankly that might be the one way we can stop this thing. And Mike Schreiner, the leader, has been absolutely clear. He recognizes the risks. It's the immediate destruction of farmland that can't be replaced, regardless of what they say, and the threat to the major water systems. And you look at what's led up to this, the legislation and the political agenda that's led up to this. First, you've got to wonder, why would, if the Conservatives and Liberals are planning to objectively evaluate this, why would the Liberals take a donation of $35,000 from companies that are proponents of this quarry, and why would the Liberals take $13,000, of which we know? And the only reason why we know about this, because of course they go through subsidiary companies, is because there's a professor, Robert McDermott at York, that researches this. And of course, he, like the Green Party, believes that this kind of thing should be absolutely illegal, because how can the people of Dufferin Caledon have faith that their government is looking after their interests when their parties are taking money from businesses that have a view that's opposed to them? And then you look at what this is a result of. It's a result of the Greater Golden Horseshoe Growth Plan that's bringing 3.7 million people here in 30 years. Well, to do that, you need aggregate. You need 150 million tons per year of aggregate. And then you've got the Saros report by the Ministry of Natural Resources, which said one of the best options is a megacorp. So, quite frankly, the proponents of this are just doing what the government has basically asked them to do. So what are the chances of the government of stopping it now? So, to be brief, Mike Schreiner and the Green Party is absolutely opposed to this because we recognize the incredible risk to this. And I'll stop there.
I'd like to make a couple of comments. One is I'd like you to make a comparison between these statements. Wednesday, April 13th, from the Hansard, Ms. Sylvia Jones. My question is for the Minister of Natural Resources. As you know, in March, an application for a quarry operation in the township of Melanchthon was filed with your ministry. This application, at over 2,300 acres, is the largest in Ontario's history. And then a little bit later she says, this is a huge operation that is of a scale never seen in Ontario. So those are the negative comments that my colleague to the right of me has said then. The next day, from April 14th, Peter Tabbins, he's the MPP, he's the NDP environment critic. He said the initiative against the quarry has the support of at least one political party, the NDP. On the face of it, the quarry looks like a very questionable proposition. Making sure we have clean, uncontaminated water is a very high priority for the NDP. We look at this and we see real potential risk for those headwaters. And his statement is much stronger. Now that wasn't actually in Parliament, that was at a speech, but definitely a strong statement against. And the question actually specifically was about the leader. Wednesday, May 4th, Ms. Andrea Horvath, which I'm sure as you know is the NDP leader. My question is to the Premier. A U.S. company wants to build the second largest quarry in North America near Shelburne, which would destroy productive farmland and could threaten the area's water, right at the headwaters of rivers that provide drinking water for more than 1 million Ontarians. So I would say that that shows that Andrea, right back in May, so this isn't an election issue that she's jumped on the high horse over. She was against the quarry then, continues to be against it. One more quick comment. Myself, prior to this election and prior to me knowing I was going to be a candidate in this election, I was talking to someone just north of here in Dundalk and saying, don't forget about the quarry up there, like in Bruce Gray Owen Sound, that's riding north of us. Don't forget the quarry, even though it's not affecting Owen Sound or Tobermory, it's going to affect Dundalk. So it's an issue that I was aware of and I was already speaking against before I was running. So my speaking against the quarry is from the heart, not lip service because it's an election issue. Thank you.